Welcome back. We're joined now by Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas. Congresswoman, thank you for making time for us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let's begin with the truly startling announcement from Congresswoman Green. When the news broke that she was planning to step down on January 5th, what was your initial, unvarnished reaction? Honestly, my first thought was, this has to be a joke. You go against the former president for about 7 days, and suddenly you can't stand the heat? Try to imagine my situation and that of my colleagues. The security risks and personal threats someone like me receives are exponentially worse. My job isn't to appease the former president, it's to concentrate on advancing legislation that benefits the people of my district. Here is her core explanation. Defending American women who were exploited and abused by wealthy, powerful individuals should not lead to me being labeled a traitor and targeted by the President of the United States, whom I strongly supported. She's arguing her disagreement over the Epstein files is the catalyst. What is your take on that explanation? Look, the president has publicly criticized Thomas Massie, Lauren Boebert, and others who managed to endure the pressure. This suggests that Marjorie, who has often been a primary driver of the resentment and extremism we see in the MAGA movement, may not have fully grasped the damage she was inflicting. Now that she's receiving a taste of that treatment, I have to ask, if everyone else can handle it, why can't she? The episode exposes the hypocrisy that the MAGA movement is built on. It demands absolute loyalty, but offers no protection the moment you step out of line. The House Oversight Committee, where you hold a seat, disclosed late Friday that the inquiry into Jeffrey Epstein is being broadened. Can you share any details about what this expansion of the investigation might entail? I cannot. Not at this specific moment. Our committee leadership is being very cautious about keeping details private to prevent new complications. We moved to issue a subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell, and almost immediately, the former president's operatives somehow accessed her communications. Consequently, we were unable to have the deposition we'd planned. We are operating on a strict need-to-know basis for now. The Oversight Committee Chairman, James Comer, claims your Democratic colleagues are simply attempting to weaponize these documents to discredit the former president. Do you or any of your Democratic peers have any pre-knowledge about what these files contain? Absolutely not. And here's the truth. Even if we did have pre-knowledge, I wouldn't see that as the central issue. The talking point from Republicans is find what Democrats did, pull that out, and ensure all Republican names are sanitized. My perspective is simple. I don't care whose name appears in those files. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Our duty is to identify every individual who broke the law and which figures in government might have enabled these actions. This includes examining fraudulent immigration documents, foreign government participation, and the sham modeling agencies that were fronts for trafficking. This endeavor is dedicated to achieving justice for the survivors and ensuring this predatory system can never operate again. Now, there was an exchange this week after you alleged that former Congressman Lee Zeldin had accepted political funds from Jeffrey Epstein. It was later clarified that this was not the felon, but a neurosurgeon named Dr. Jeffrey Epstein. The doctor is now telling the New York Post he's planning an act of revenge by donating to your campaign. What is your reaction to this whole episode? She was smiling, chuckling. Well, if any other living person wishes to contribute to my campaign just to ensure their name appears on my FEC filing, I wholeheartedly accept. Please send your contribution. Since the deceased Jeffrey Epstein is deceased, I don't foresee any confusion whatsoever about the source of the funds. This is a perfect example of the silly performative drama that distracts Washington. If Dr. Epstein genuinely wants to support a campaign focused on defending fundamental rights, reducing healthcare costs, and bringing economic opportunities to Dallas, my campaign is entirely open for business.
So you would be happy to take the neurosurgeon's money?
I would absolutely welcome his donation. It's a very creative form of protest, and one I can certainly appreciate. We stay focused on the issues. Pivoting to Texas, you are currently assessing a potential run for the U.S. Senate to challenge Senator John Cornyn. You mentioned a meeting with your pollsters this week. Did that meeting happen, and are you still seriously considering the race? I am still heavily considering the race, and yes, we did receive the results of our initial polling this week. We are progressing to the next stage of evaluation, determining if the timing is right and if we can establish the robust infrastructure necessary to actually win a massive statewide race. We're also closely studying the dynamics on the Republican side, the internal struggle over who will ultimately be their party's nominee. We plan to make a final declaration by the Thanksgiving holiday regarding our path forward. What specific insights did your polling reveal? Is the calculation about facing Cornyn versus a more extreme MAGA-aligned candidate who might defeat him? I can tell you this definitively. In a one-on-one contest, we show very strong numbers against Ken Paxton. I will confirm that. I will also tell you that our data places us well within the margin of error against John Cornyn. The only reason I continue to deliberate on this run is because the data indicates a clear path to victory, regardless of the ultimate opponent. That is the fundamental fact. We are confident we can prevail, though naturally we would have a clear preference for facing a candidate like Paxton, who has significant baggage. Let's discuss the electoral map. What is the fundamental strategy for a Democrat to win a statewide election in a state as large and diverse as Texas? The strategy hinges on maximizing turnout from our core voters, and that base is highly diverse and rapidly expanding. We're talking about massive mobilization in the rapidly growing metro and suburban regions: Houston, Dallas-Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin. The reality is that the demographics of Texas are rapidly evolving. We need a massive surge in youth and Latino participation. When these groups vote and when we focus relentlessly on essential issues: affordable healthcare, quality education, and protecting personal freedoms, we can win. How do you see your background allowing you to uniquely connect with that diverse Texan electorate? My history speaks for itself. I came up as a civil rights advocate and a public defender. I have consistently fought for voting access, women's reproductive rights, and significant criminal justice reform. I haven't just campaigned on these issues. I have lived these experiences. I believe Texans are seeking a senator who will resist political extremes and focus solely on the well-being of their families. My message of common sense governing is clearly resonating across the state. If elected to the Senate, what single policy would be your immediate day one priority? That's an easy one. My top priority would be dramatically reducing the costs of medications and making essential healthcare universally accessible. The rising expense of living is crushing Texas families. We must halt the predatory actions of drug companies. We need to broaden the power to negotiate drug prices to cover all Americans and pass a federal guarantee to protect a woman's right to control her own medical decisions. That is my central focus. Finally, if you announce a run, what will be your message to the national Democratic figures who remain unconvinced about a Democrat's chances in Texas? My message would be to examine the evidence. Look at the data. Texas is not a state that should be dismissed as permanently red. We are a large, vibrant, and highly competitive state, and the Republicans are tearing themselves apart. The path forward is not about finding a mythical moderate. It's about successfully mobilizing the coalition that already exists and is growing every single day. We have the potential to deliver Texas, and if I run, I will lead the way to victory. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for the platform. If you want to make sure you get all of our analysis and stay ahead of the curve, please take a second right now to hit that subscribe button on the channel and turn on notifications. Subscribe now.